Hello, Andrew Hebard here with the Archiflower channel, Regenerative Omegas for a Regenerative Planet. And today I'm really pleased to have William Smolen as our guest. William is the co-founder and CEO of WagWell, a new and high-profile canine nutrition and wellness business. And as the website says, is operated by go-fetch enthusiasts. So William, welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So just as a little bit of background, you began your career with Goldman Sachs and then soon after that set up your own business, an advisory firm, if I understand rightly, advising on business strategy, product development and marketing, all within the luxury, beauty, fashion and design industries. And you're a graduate of Northeastern University and then the London School of Economics. And prior to founding WagWell, you've served in senior management roles in North America, again in the personal care and beauty industry, with a particular focus on sales, business development, and marketing. So really a very solid sales and marketing and product development background.
Yes, I mean, prior to launching WagWell, I founded an indie beauty brand that was owned by a large contract manufacturer. And we became known for these one-of-a-kind products that no one else had. And we were able to do that because my founder and funder was this big manufacturer, right? So we ended up developing a big perspective about new ingredients and tech-driven skincare. And, my whole time, I'd always wanted to kind of build this more into the pet space. I found a lot of what was in this competing brands wasn't necessarily the most innovative. It didn't always have the best ingredients. And I just felt that there was room for that to be improved. But for years, not only did I build and scale indie brands and led a turnaround for one of the larger conglomerates, we also were one of the leading manufacturers. So it gave me this perspective of how to build a business, how to build a brand, and something that, I don't know, was differentiated in the market. I've always wanted to, if you're going to build something, put something that's different and better. And I kind of have fun creating that. Right. But it's less about me wanting to have done this. We ended up finding a really great best-in-class team to create WagWell, each of whom are sort of classically trained misfits in their own right. And the whole point was to create this trusted wellness brand across product category. And we're slowly building out through that.
Classically trained misfits. I love it. I love it. And what you've captured there is what came across when we first met is that I would broadly describe you as a serial entrepreneur, which is great. And then we first met back in the summer at Super Zoo in Las Vegas. And literally upon our first meeting, you impressed us, myself and my team, greatly with your enthusiasm and your energy and your authentic mission to break into the canine health and wellness business. And it was a great opportunity there. I hadn't been to Super Zoo before, but it's a very large show, very large expo. But what really struck me is that it's a very crowded marketplace. There's a lot of competition there, but there didn't strike me as a lot of innovation. And I think this is really the point that WagWell is homing in on, is sort of innovating around the opportunity for high quality canine nutrition using supplements as a delivery system. And I think that's really what you've dialed into. So could you tell us a little bit about WagWell, the origin story, and how consumers can find you?
Of course. So we've just launched at wagwellpet.com and have actually a pretty great partnership with Amazon, which is launching December 1st. We're taking the first 6 months plus to really understand our customer and focus on the DTC and Amazon space. We will build an omni-channel platform and work with other third-party wholesalers, retail, digital, et cetera. But when the time is right, it's easy for me to say what my great product is. I want to test that with, actually getting feedback from the customer. But when we met at Super Zoo, it's easy to criticize the space, and we've seen the advent of private equity already kind of changing the face of pet a bit. But a lot of what's there has always been an afterthought. People working on human baby companies didn't want something, pivoted, had raw materials, and created a product, whether that be ingestible or not. It seems like the pet space had always been an easy afterthought. And while it is crowded, there's a lot of room for a lot of similar product to reach their respective spaces. So when we were envisioning WagWell, our whole point is to innovate across product categories. While we're launching in supplements, I'm already working on toppers, like freeze-dried treats, grooming products, other lifestyle-related products. But it was very important we came to the table with something that was innovative, but meets the customer where they are. And within supplements, I always use that term snake oil. Traditionally, yes, there's value in them, but they need to be spoken about in the right manner, right? It's not an antibiotic, and it's not like a quick problem solution. This is something that, when working alongside a healthy diet, is sort of taking this proactive approach to health that is incredibly effective. And we felt, let's hire veterinary nutritionists and food scientists to really innovate and come up with what I would call best-in-class products for each of these specific top 10 products that we see on Amazon. I wanted to meet the customer where they were, and spending all the time being so innovative that you have to educate everyone from scratch. And we're working on that as well. So within the supplement format, we came upon ahi flower. We knew about it from the equine space and some other research we'd done. And we're really excited to find that plant-based alternative for all the reasons I'm sure your listeners know. And I even bring up plant-based within the dog space. I need to be careful on how we even share that. This is a plant-based omega, as you know, and I'm really excited about, because it's just as effective and you have the whole sustainability play. But separate from that, we do have chicken in the flavoring for the dog, for them to enjoy it, stock, et cetera. By nature, dogs tend to be carnivores, and that's fine. It's not about that purity of only being plant-based for the sake of marketing. It's about finding best-in-class ingredients and putting something strong together. So when we did this, we hired, the vet nutritionists and food scientists, and really put something else that's out there. And I felt that was important to try and legitimize supplements. And we didn't launch with a celebrity, which is frequently used within supplements, because that becomes, licensing for their own brand, really an attempt to build credibility and understand the space, because it's really about what you're giving your dog to ingest and how that will work. And we went through great lengths for each of our products to, where appropriate, imbue ahi flower as the omega source. And then if it's, allergy and itch, having a lot of colostrum or glucosamine for mobility, et cetera, and then putting in sort of best-in-class ingredients. So if you're going to buy my brand, it's going to be better than everything else out there. I need to start with that as a new brand. And I felt ahi flower was just this tremendous ingredient that just gives such an opportunity to engage in a very different way and be just as effective. And I'm so proud to see that the results, the feedback we've gotten so far is incredible, that we're just getting started.
Well, it's so good to hear you say that, William, because it's, to where we work with brand partners that are looking for functional ingredients, as you say, best-in-class ingredients, things that actually work rather than things that just complement a product and say, I've got a bit of this in there and a bit of that in there. And it's something that we see, and I'm so really glad that you mentioned it. This is a very subtle point, but it's very important, I think, for your brand and for our product as well, that you don't necessarily choose this because it's plant-based. You choose it because it's better, which is such a strong point there. That and as you say, canines are by nature either carnivorous or omnivorous. They will graze on certain grass, etc. So it's not actually trying to get them to take a plant-based diet. It's actually trying to get them to take the best ingredients. So thank you for making that point. So within the WagWell family, then, you're looking at sort of, say, line extensions and across multiple channels there. What is your vision? What is your sort of mission for WagWell to differentiate your products maybe from other products that are currently out there?
Well, great question. Thank you. I feel that if we can't make a product better or different from what's in the market, we're not going to make it at all. And we were very intentional about even what we launched with to be very need-based, essentially, of like having a problem that we can address that's based off something you'd search and see, but that we could strike that diminished chord left of center that's, I think, even more effective and interesting to reach that offering. So within supplements, we're starting here, but I ultimately want to be that trusted brand that you'll see across category and we'll buy something else because WagWell is behind it. And we're putting, you give before you get, right? We put what I think is the best supplement forward and wanted to test something that required science and actual interest versus just making some cute bowl. So when we go to these other categories, we'll have some trust built in with that consumer. But the whole point is you walk into a Petco, you don't really have one big brand that you can trust across categories. A lot of the advice people receive is anecdotal, and you don't really know a lot of the difference, and the poor pups can't really communicate in traditional ways. So even with our ahi flower oil, my pug, it's the softest coat she's ever had after a week. Even my partner, who's a scientist, he's like, this is incredible. We can feel that, but we also know that there's a lot of other good stuff going on. But sometimes it's difficult to communicate, and it's imperative that we are what we eat, right? Put the best into everything. But sorry, to answer your question, it's about building that trusted base. So when I make a grooming product or accessories or anything, they'll be differentiated and trustworthy. And we're very intentional about beginning here, knowing ahi flower, it's okay if it's used by others. I'd love to take a more sustainable approach to this. And we're working on a number of stories right now about overfishing and sustainability and what we're seeing within pet. As I know, Andrew, you and I have discussed, the cost of goods on fish oil has increased 4x in about the past 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. There's a larger story here just from your own forecasting, and multiple articles that have come out recently from the New York Times and the New Yorker all about the subject matter. It's really interesting to delve into and to find that we have a really worthwhile solution. So as far as WagWell, I'm excited to start here. I want to be a trusted brand across all of the categories, but we're going to take our time in building each of these very intentionally. And as far as ahi flower, we're only putting it where it's appropriate. I don't want to just egregiously throw it into everything. It's not in my calming product because there really wasn't a need for it. But that is a step of, all of our partners and what we're doing work within something that's differentiated and worthwhile. And in the case of supplements, that's where this is. And we're looking into incorporating that where appropriate and new products we're developing at the moment.
Yeah. Well, when you and I was fortunate enough to get together with you a couple of months ago at your offices, and we were talking generally about the industry and the broader ingredient industry, and then the sort of the canine industry. And you mentioned earlier retail outlets like Petco. And I came away from that meeting thinking, wow, you've got a very ambitious plan. Your entrepreneurial spirit shines through very clearly. And you say you're talking about multiple channels so that you become a trusted brand partner across this whole industry. That's a big target to go after. And what struck me is, do you have a very clear plan how to get there? This isn't sort of just like we're going to start here and we might think about this, we're going to think about that. There's a very deep strategy behind this. And I think WagWell, based on the back of that, WagWell is going to be a brand that the consumer becomes very familiar with very quickly. Is that part of your plan?
Oh, let's hope so, right? The road to hell is paved with good intentions. So we're excited. And it's not just me because I have an aging pug looking into it, right? It's a whole team of us who are, I hired top people in each of their respective spaces to put this together. And we're working with, I'd say, the most innovative people in the pet space right now. But to me, it's not about claiming that in an interview. It's about hiring people and who have a strong perspective and giving them the freedom to bring it to the table. There's some stuff we're working on right now that's really interesting, but it takes time to make sure that, manifests in a product with a problem and solution. So there's a lot of interesting research, and that will reify at some point. But right now, just even an example outside of ahi flower, we're making a balm for dog, like a paw protector. I'm working with a human manufacturer that makes some of the most luxurious brands you'd see at Sephora. And we remade with my wax manufacturer, like the perfect version, and then put in, organic beeswax and other pieces. So this is something I could ingest, and it's something that's healthy and good. And I know the practices of that supply chain and how it's working. Whether or not the end consumer knows all of that, sure, we'd love to share that in marketing. There's an intention there, and maybe it will give a different result. I know we're putting all of that in. It's a good paw balm. That's great. But I also know I'm approaching this a little differently, and it's frankly fun to put that effort, but we're also realizing more interesting ingredients that are more effective. And that research process really informs the end result. And that's always a little different from where we thought we'd be. And I think it's about being humble, about taking the time, but also being really intentional about how we're putting it all together. So I'm excited. And we're working on each of these different formats. and we will see where it takes us. But I'm really thankful for that larger team and their perspective to kind of give that space. So yeah, we have a vision that will take time. Any brand you're wearing right now probably takes at least 5 years before people even know of it. Of course, I'm trying to accelerate that process, but all you can do is give the product to your dog and trust and see that, and then build that relationship, right?
So before we started recording this, you were telling me about the world of canine influencers, which I find fascinating. We've touched on the surface of influencers with Ahiflower generally because we need people that can reach the consumer where they are, as you say, that are relatable, that can educate the consumer, that have gravitas with the consumer, all of those things. But the world of dog influencers is completely new to me. So could you tell me a little bit about that? Because I asked the question, is a canine influencer a human that has a good-looking dog, or a celebrity that owns a dog, or is it the dog has celebrity status in of itself? And so over to you.
I love it. And it's all relatively new to me, but none of that's mutually exclusive. We did an event, our launch event last week in Los Angeles at the San Vicente Bungalows. And really it was to engage with the influencers and audience. And that's editors I've known, influencers, media partnerships. It's one thing to send a pitch and show a product. It's another to take the time to meet someone in person and understand how, the context around it, right? Art is context. So it was a really great event, not just for the fame of getting people to post, but to really speak to them about what they don't see in the market, where they'd like to be. All of this is to, yes, have the potential to partner together and collaborate, whether it be through product or through media. And I think that's necessary today for any brand you're building. And we chose not to have a big celebrity for the face. So how do you engage meaningfully with different people in different communities? So some of that are famous dogs. Others are, many of them are micro-influencers who are passionate and excited about what we're doing. And others have more established networks, maybe within grooming, that we'll speak about when we launch that aspect, et cetera. Of course, you want people to speak within their respective spheres, and there are many of them that, and it's an opportunity to further engage. So, many brands do their launch events. I'm told we were the first in pet at this place, but it was also a lot of fun because it's easy to get jaded, right? Especially with, Instagram, TikTok, the whole influencer culture, this pay to play bit. I think we're at a point with dogs, there's maybe some more purity, and it's just, there's some fun to it. So we had a blast, but more importantly, we were really able to engage with people and understand what they were coming up against and what products they want to see and why this is effective and how it may be helpful. So it's not about getting them all to do everything. It's a chance to develop that relationship. Right. So we, and then we did a media dinner in New York City just as we were turning on the website. And we've been working alone with our team for, well over a year putting this together. And it was really more to have meaningful conversations with editors who kind of see it all, to hear their feedback and criticism of here's where we are. What do you feel? We're really thankful we had really positive response, and we'll see that soon with a lot of press. But, we didn't just fall into that. It's because it's not about looking for white space, but, just seeing from our own dogs. And there's a lot of low-hanging fruit in this industry, and there's an opportunity to address that from a healthy place. So we're tapping from a limitless well.
Right. I love it. So we've I think I had my first dog at 18. So I was late in life to dog ownership. But since then, there has not been a time in my life where we haven't had less than 3 and more than 5 dogs. My wife was a guide dog mobility instructor for 10 years. So she was working with, seeing eye dogs, I guess they call it over here, but the guide dog for the Blind Association. And if I look back over the sort of 3 or 4 decades that we've been a dog household, the innovation around products has changed greatly. And I would say that it has changed more in the last 3 or 4 years that has changed in the last 40 years. And the cupboard above the sink that had the dog stuff in it, there was 2 or 3 products. There was a dog shampoo, there were the nail clippers, and there was a treat. And that was it. And now the cupboard is full of everything, as you say. And you gave a great example with things like paw balms and calming products and dental sticks and all sorts of things like that. So there's been a lot of innovation, a lot of product development there. We've seen Ahiflower we get through a ton of Archiflower with horses, with dogs, with humans, etc. And it's really good. We see it visually with the, just the coat health that the dogs have, but also the mobility, and they don't look achy and creaky when they get off their beds. I mean, they're just for all-round vitality, and they look well, and they move well, and they feel well. But what's really struck me over the last few years, I say, is not just this amount of diversity of product, but also, and this was just, it really struck me, the enjoyment that people get buying things for their pets and buying things for their friends that have pets. So you're really into this because, with Christmas coming up soon and stockings under the tree, I can guarantee half of them are going to be full of dog treats and dog products and stuff like that, which is great. So the question I've got for you as a serial entrepreneur that's had a great deal of success over your career of building brands, working with brands, you must have seen this coming. What is it that drew you to this industry? Because you talk about the perfect timing.
Well, I think about consumer packaged goods and beauty brands in the past 20 years and how they've been marketed. We've been taught to look at an ingredients panel and be skeptical of it, right? And look at what is behind all of this. And when I think about what makes a luxurious or interesting brand, to me, it's no longer some gilded object that sits on a table, but it's about where is the money going? Where is it manufactured? What is involved? How is this differentiated? What is the sustainability? There are more variables in that conversation. And we now look at that for ourselves of whatever skincare products or, the whole idea of fast fashion and true luxury of craftsmanship and all of that in our own lives. So I think we enter pet, we're now looking at this more discerningly, and a lot of what we're seeing, it's not good, right? So I'm happy to see in the past 3 to 4 years, people taking an interest. I hope more brands adopt Archiflower oil, not only because it's safer for the pet, it's better for our world. It's Pareto efficient. Why wouldn't we push for that? It's through that innovation, and I think in our own society, through competition, that it forces people to kind of bring their best. So I've experienced this, just beauty has, because that's my most recent life, changed just greatly every 3 to 5 years. You're seeing all of those shifts. And my own interest is always, of course, love my dog, and believe me, my pug is treated better than I was as a child. I'm sure there's some ridiculous transference occurring there. But at the end of the day, it's not about the luxury and filling a million things. It's about when we feed her better food, she's in a healthier space and lives a longer, healthier life. And that, again, materializes through a number of bits. And there's a part of this that, having the resources, it can be tough for pets. This is not about just make a lot of really expensive things. This is finding the right ingredients that are effective, that are straightforward, that are priced at a point where it's approachable and affordable, because we want everyone to take better care of their pets. It's better for all of us. That comes in costs. I could speak for hours about health costs for dogs and how American health insurance companies now pushing in that space. It all goes back to these same tenets of you are what you eat, proactive approach to health, being discerning in your approach to looking at what the ingredients are. And from our brand angle, putting together a product, putting that intention behind it, not just throwing something together as an aftermath. So I'm excited about it for the space. And there are a lot of interesting things happening from new brands I'm seeing right now. And that puts us all in a space where we're thinking more discerningly. And I think that's good for the industry overall.
As I hear you say that, I start to think about it's no longer value for money, it's value for me. I.e., what are the values that I hold personally and I attribute to this? As you say, where did it come from? Who manufactured it? What was the quality of the ingredients? Was it sustainable? Which is a trend we see across multiple industries at the moment. And I shouldn't say value for me like it's all about me, but the values that I align with, rather than just about is it cheap.
And I understand that many people take different approaches and there's only so many resources, but we're trying to approach this from a good place of not just make the most expensive thing possible, but something that will be effective. And we speak about who is the customer. Well, obviously it's the pet, but it can also be the pet parent. And we, go back and forth because you do get joy in giving something fun to the dog. And we're all for that. We just want to make sure it's also healthy for them and, aiding in their lives while still being enjoyable for the dog. I have friends whose children have never had sugar. They're thin, but when they get to college, they're going to go crazy. So it's like we want to make sure there's that little bit of taste of chicken, so the dog ensures it themselves, and find that healthy balance. Is it's the humility and not just trying to be this point of perfection or some didactic approach to how you need to have your pet live its life. These are tools and resources to be able to help them live their best one, but that can be determined by you.
Yeah. Oh, very good. So I don't want to take up all your afternoon today, William, but a last question for you is, with your wildest dreams and you achieve your moonshot, where could we expect to see you and WagWell in 5 years' time?
Oh gosh. I mean, so, look, we're speaking to, I think, just throughout America, many people go to their individual pet stores and have that relationship with the person behind the counter who are telling them what's interesting, what's new. They're a node that has a lot of experience, and I think it's really important to engage on that front and meet people where they are. So of course, yes, WagWellPet.com is our main focus, and we're really working to build community from that. We're on Amazon as a new DTC brand. I think it's imperative when you're searching around reviews and legitimacy on product, and we'll work with many of the more digital third-party sources and better pet shops across the country. In 5 years, yeah, I'd love to be in all of that, and really a household name and something that is something you trust. And that's really the whole point. And I'm incapable of making a product I'm not passionate about. So I want to put that energy to something that I think will add value and be good. And our mandate inside the company with the whole team is to just bring your best and put this together in a way that's different and worthwhile. If I can get people to feel that through the brand and the products we have, I'll be really happy.
Well, we look forward to watching your success. We look forward to continuing our partnership. We appreciate your supporting Ahi flour as a kind of hero ingredient in some of your products. So thank you for that. And I have little doubt that you're going to hit your moonshot, William.
Very kind of you. Thank you so much.
And so we'll put this on the bottom there, but wagwellpet.com is where we can go directly to your website and find you at Amazon as well.
Amazon starting, I believe, next week. Yes. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Well, all the best, and thank you again.
Thank you.